Right now, I have to stop saying. Coming up on the DLLS Stars Pregame Show, it's going to be the return of somebody, the return of another guy, not quite a debut, and one guy who's supposed to be here, but it's not here. Does that make any sense? Stars and Pens Pregame Show starts right now on DLLS. Well, it's not particularly sunny and pleasant outside, but it is an afternoon matinee as we welcome you to the DLLS Stars Pregame Show. And what better backdrop for this dreary, gloomy-looking Saturday than to welcome back our very own Sam Nestler to the program. Sam, it's been a hot minute. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm a little worried that I forgot how to do this, but I guess we'll find that out today.
So we're going to save the full breakdown of what went wrong with Sam until tomorrow because Sam will be in studio with me. Luds is going to be is Luds remote tomorrow? No, Luds is off the show tomorrow. Sean will be remote. But look at this. Katie already said, go hot, Sam. Look at that. I love it. So we'll Sam and I will be in studio together tomorrow for the game with the Minnesota Wild. So we'll talk much more about your whole ordeal, get you back into that. Everybody's happy to see you, Sam. I have to say that it's nice to have you back. Glad you're feeling better. So let's talk some hockey. What's going on over at the AAC? Stars, of course, had a practice yesterday. Now they have their puck drop today. They go to Minnesota tomorrow. Who's in, who's out, who's starting?
Yeah, as expected, I think Casey DeSmith will start against his former team today. Seemed pretty obvious. Casey against Pittsburgh and Jake against Minnesota. Seems like the best way to do it. So Casey will go today. Both guys have been just absolutely incredible lately. So really no bad choice there. But for the lineup, it'll be the same lineup. Jamie Benn will miss the second game in a row with the lower body injury. Pete did say the captain will travel and is probable to play tomorrow in Minnesota. So good news there. Seems like it's something minor. They're just being a little bit conservative here with a few games left into the playoffs. So same lineup. That means Brendan Smith and Jamie Benn will be out, and we'll see all the fourth line guys, Beck, Blackwell, all those guys in today.
Yeah, it looked like in Thursday's game, I'm guessing they're going to stick with that, with Sam Steele playing on the left side with Johnston and Bork, with Dodonov, Beck, and Blackwell as the fourth line until Jamie Benn comes back. I think that's the way they're going to go, don't you?
Yeah, that's how they practiced yesterday as well. So that's what I'm expecting today.
So let's talk about one update you didn't have. Miro Heiskanen. What's the deal with Miro?
Yeah, unfortunately, I was telling people yesterday on Twitter, like, we have to take a little bit of a break in between Miro questions. Otherwise, Pete might smack us right across the face. But today, I asked about it. No update whatsoever. Said still skating on his own. Long ways away. It's become Pete's favorite line to say. And I'm going to just tell all the fans now, we very well could hear Pete say a long ways away for Tyler Seguin, and then he plays 2 days later. So don't know how much we have to believe in the words and how he's saying it, but he's definitely still skating on his own, not going super hard, and obviously hasn't practiced with the team anytime recently.
Well, you were at practice yesterday, which was actually held at American Airlines Center because it was the annual Stars team photo day, which is always fun. It's different. And you get to see some people dressed in hockey gear that you haven't seen for a while because of injuries.
It was weird. I almost forgot about that. Just kind of sitting there getting ready for the practice, and then everyone started coming out, and I saw number 5, Niels Lundqvist, skating around in circles right in front of me on the glass. He very much looked like he misses hockey, and I'm imagining he hasn't skated a whole lot because 15 minutes before the picture and for like maybe 10 after, he was on his own, just twirling around on his own, kind of like it honestly looked like a kid who hasn't stepped on the ice ever. He was looking down at his skates, kind of seeing how it goes, and just looked like he missed being on the ice. So it was good to see him in victory green, as well as Tyler Seguin and then Miro Heiskanen. So the full group out there for the picture. It was actually really funny. I was sitting up where we normally sit for morning skate, And as they set up for the picture, I heard Joe Calvillo from PR yell up and say, "Hey, Sam, can you move out of the way? You're in the background of the picture." So I was trying to get my photo drop on, but it didn't work. But it was a fun day. The funniest part of all of it was watching. It looked like a middle school with all the teachers trying to get the kids to sit still. The players were all messing around and skating away, and Joe's trying to wrangle them all and yelling at them. It was just a really fun experience. So good way to ease back into things here, I guess.
Wrangle is a perfect word because I like to use the phrase herding cats when trying to get these players to do what they're told. But you were talking about Seguin earlier. He was wearing that blue non-contact jersey yesterday. To me, that's sort of our next indicator about Seguin. When he's wearing the regular colors of everybody else, again, for a practice, because morning skates, you don't necessarily see that because there's really not contact drills in morning skates to begin with. But when we see a practice and Tyler's not wearing that extra color, then I think we're getting pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Jamie Benn was the other one wearing, it was gray actually yesterday, which was weird. They switched it. The third line, I think, was wearing blue. So they were wearing gray, but you could tell they were the extras. And it was, I'm really curious, and I'm going to ask Pete this week in maybe a practice or something, what contact actually looks like. Because to me, Seguin was a full participant. He was in every drill other than I think the actual forechecking drill. So maybe that's what contact is. So I'll try to get more clarification on that. But Pete did say that he didn't take any contact. He's skating. The one interesting update with Tyler was on the trip, he skated three or 4 days in a row. And then he was pretty sore, Pete said. So they actually gave him, I think, 2 or 3 days off. That was his first day yesterday, getting back on the ice with the team. So that's something we have to look on. I think we've all understood that it's not necessarily him on the ice. It's how he recovers after skating. And that was the first time he skated 3 or 4 days in a row, and then he needed a couple days off. So Pete put it perfectly. He said 1 step forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's kind of the way we have to look at it here, is keeping track of how his progress goes.
We talked about this, Luds and I did the other day. We did our mini pod, and the more and more I look at this, the more I think we're going to see Seguin for about 2 games, maybe 3, but probably that Detroit, Nashville, those 2 road games, maybe the last of it, and then playoffs. I don't think we're going to see him for a week and a half or 2 weeks before this. I mean, we're almost at 2 weeks now, but I think that the last game or 2 is probably about it.
For sure. And Pete said the salary cap isn't an issue, but if you do the math, and I'm not great at math, Robert's a lot better, who we'll hear from in a minute, but it looks like they have to send someone down in order to get him in. And I believe Liam Bichel is the only one eligible to go to Texas at this time. So it would be weird, maybe that comes into play and they don't want to sit Bichel or, send him down to Texas for 2 games and miss 2 games going into the playoffs. Maybe they just leave Seguin for game 1. It'll be really interesting to watch because it's not a cut and dry. As soon as he's ready, he can come back. So that's kind of interesting.
And finally, Sam, the pick that I think we're all going to make today is Wyatt Johnston. Keep scoring goals. He scored in 6 straight games. It's unbelievable what he's done. And he can't be any hotter as far as his offense right now.
Yeah, and the craziest thing about Wyatt that we're all starting to realize, Pete talks about it, teammates talk about it, is how mature he is and the type of person he is off the ice. And obviously, huge part of that goes to Joe Pavelski and the building he grew in the house. I was waiting for it. I had people ask me yesterday when Pete said Pavelski, they were asking if it was going to be a ding if I brought it up. So there you go, 2 for you guys. But Wyatt has he gets a lot of credit for it as well. It's not all because of where he lived and who he grew up under. It's Wyatt as a person and how mature he is. I mean, the perfect example yesterday, the ice crew, everyone clears out, the players get off the ice, the ice girls were there, the team staff was there, Victory Green was there, everyone kind of clears off, and while everyone's getting away, Wyatt skates over and without being asked helps push one of the big bleachers off the ice for the people because they were kind of struggling because they had shoes on, so they were kind of slipping. Wyatt just comes over, digs the skates in, and pushes it right off. That's the kind of person that Wyatt is. He's also one of the last people out there collecting pucks. It's not just because he's 21. I bet you in 10 years, if Wyatt Johnston is still in the Dallas Stars, he's still collecting pucks. And that's just the crazy thing about him. But Pete said today, I said, what is the first thing you think of when you hear Wyatt Johnston? And he said, winning hockey. Said the kid just plays exactly how you're supposed to play. He doesn't cheat the game. He's in the right spots. He's responsible. That, I think, is the biggest thing for Wyatt. We know his skill. We know he's ridiculously talented offensively, but he's just never going to be a liability. And even more so, he's going to be an addition wherever he is. Penalty kill, power play, last minute trying to score, last minute trying to defend, in the faceoff dot. he's just developed into a all-around player, and he's going to be a superstar before he's 23 years old, which is absolutely crazy.
Well, Sam, it's very nice to have you back on the show. I can't wait to see you confirm our lines in a little bit. But more importantly, save me a seat next to you. I'll be there in a little while.
You got it. I'll see you here.
All right, there he is, Sam Nestler, back in action after some time on the shelf. And speaking about being on the shelf, let's welcome in a special guest. Our very good friend, Robert Tiffin, joins us for a fill-in for Craig Ludwig, who was supposed to be here remote from New Jersey. His flight, because of the weather this morning in Dallas, got delayed, so he's on an airplane right now. And so Robert very graciously stepped in for our pregame show today. Robert, thanks for coming in. And if I must say so briefly, because I know you probably don't want to dwell on it, but we had Sam hurt, and then you picked up an injury. I would give you at least the credit of you got hurt in the line of duty.
Well, such as it was, I really just proved that I'm incapable of running upstairs, which you should never do anyway, children. Remember that. But yeah, after the Seattle game, trying to catch an Uber after riding the train back down, and everything went great right up until I tried to take the steps 2 at a time, and just totally ate it at like 5 minutes after midnight. And it's good to know. It's good to know that wool suits are actually strong these days. That held up. My appendages did not. I'm still pretty scraped up. One of my toes had things coming out of it that are supposed to stay inside of it. So it was fun. It was fun little trip to the ER and an explanation to the Uber driver that we were changing our destination a little bit.
Well, if you don't follow Robert on his Substack, you really need to, because he actually went to full detail at length to describe how it happened, how his lift home turned into a lift to the ER, how the injury happened. I honestly was waiting for some more pictures, because I think one of the great things about hockey is once somebody gets hurt, you've got to have documentation, right? You're already hurt. You might as well show the gruesome details, but we'll spare our audience for today. But let's talk about what we just heard from Sam, which is Tyler Seguin. He's not ready yet.
Yeah.
But there is, and you've been reporting this for a little bit now from looking at Puckpedia, there's a dispute maybe from what Pete told Sam today and what you believe to be true about what the Stars need to do when they do finally bring Tyler Seguin into the lineup.
Well, obviously I wasn't there today. Once I'm walking, I will be. But my best guess is what Pete is saying is that they could do it with their current salary cap constraints. They could activate Seguin if they needed to, but it would still need to make a move. And I actually confirmed that a week or two ago with someone in Stars management, just to confirm. I'm looking at this all correctly, right? Yes, they could do it, but they do have to do something. And at this point, with fewer than 10 games left, they can't LTIR anyone. That's not an option under 10 games. And they can reassign someone. But because it's after the trade deadline and Liam Bichsel was the only player that they assigned to Texas at the trade deadline, and then, of course, they recalled him the very next day, Bichsel's the only player that they could reassign to clear cap space. So there's really no other way at this point to clear cap space. And they would only need to clear like $700,000, less than the minimum NHL salary. So if they needed to activate Seguin, they could do it. The problem is they couldn't just do it for like 1 or 2 games and then flip-flop it. So I think you're probably right in what you were saying earlier, that if they do it, it's probably going to be at the very end of the season where, hey, we'll just give Bichsel a game or 2 a rest or something like that, and then bring him right back for game 1 of the playoffs. But again,
so
they're
not
placing the
crazy,
standings.
Robert,
it's going to have a lot to do with that too. Yeah.
Is it possible? So I understand that Bichsel will be the only one who'd be eligible to play because of his being papered down at the deadline. Could they not send somebody else down to not play just for the cap space?
That is something that genuinely I've checked on with a couple of people and have not gotten confirmation on. So they wouldn't be able to play. So if you sent, let's say, a Maverick Bork or someone like that, who's still waiver exempt. I guess Wyatt Johnston is still waivers exempt. But let's say a Maverick Bork, and you sent him down, he couldn't play. He's not eligible to play in Texas for the Texas Stars. But could he just be on their roster in order to clear cap space for Dallas? That's a question that hasn't been confirmed to me. So maybe you could, and maybe that's kind of what Pete is hinting at, that they could make a move like that because obviously it would make more sense for a forward. And that would also make sense for why they didn't paper another player down at the deadline along with Bischel, because obviously they saw this coming. Nothing has been a surprise to Stars management at this point. So yeah, it seems like they must have a plan. We just have to wait and see exactly what it'll be. And it's been hard to confirm if they could actually send someone other than Bischel down just for cap purposes. We do know he's the only one who could play down there.
Up next in the Stars pregame show, Robert and I will get into the Stars and Penguins, give you some looks at the lineup, talk about some of the issues of the day, and much more, including some funny chat things already about Robert. We're going to get to in just a moment here on DLLS.
Oh, boy.
First, let's talk about Sleeper. It's the best fantasy league platform out there. Get your puck or ball knowledge to the test by getting and picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week or each day even. We're going to have a pregame video with John in just a minute. I know you have come to love this feature, so hang on. John is getting ready to go. But with Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries to stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time, even injuries for your favorite Stars beat writers, which is now a thing. You're always informed and ready to outsmart your friend. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest. Doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Excuse me. Check out Sleeper today.
Bless
and
you.
with that sneeze, here's John.
I know people are probably expecting me to roll with the Buy It Johnston train, and I'm going to shock you guys by not doing that today. And the reason why I'm not going to do that is because, and we're technically not supposed to show this until tomorrow, but we need to get a couple wins on the board here because
I dispute those numbers.
I dispute these
I had a
numbers
win
as
last
well.
Saturday. We have at least 2 victories.
Yeah, and apparently, I guess my numbers are lumped in with Sam's, and apparently Jeff Wilson, I don't know what the colon means. I think that might be a typo, but
Is that
apparently,
supposed to be a smiley face?
I think that's like the O. Oh, that's what it is. I see what it is. I
Sam
knew
gets the sad face.
I knew we didn't do overtime losses on Sleeper picks, so I wasn't entirely sure what that was. But
It looked like it was almost 6-0-0, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But so I am going to shock you guys. We are not going to do 4 picks in this entry like we usually do. I'm going to stick to 2. One of them is going to be easy. It's going to be Sidney Crosby more than 0.5 points. The next one is this is what we call juice in the entry. I feel like Sam Steele is due. I feel like it's been a while since Sam Steele has had one of his Roadrunner meep shot out of a cannon go down and score a goal.
Hasn't scored in 15 games, John.
And he's playing on a line, allegedly, with Wyatt Johnston today. So it's a little bit of a Wyatt Johnston pick, in a sort of adjacent way. So Sam Steele, more than 0.5 goals today. $10 wins the people. $67.90. Back to the show.
I like it. All right. Let's talk about a couple of comments for Robert in the chat, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes. Robert, our friend Harley said she still hasn't recovered from reading your article about your injury. And Ardell then asked if you were going to get a peg leg.
That would be cool. I've got crutches right now, but frankly, Sam isn't giving me much incentive to recover that quickly. He stopped by and dropped off tacos yesterday, which is very kind of him. So at this point, I'm just inclined to kind of milk it for all it's worth. So we'll see. But yeah, hopefully by next week it'll all be just a terrible memory.
All right, let's talk about the lineup real quick, and then we've got lots of things to get to. John, if you would flash the forwards up there. Robert, the Stars moved things around to start the game against Nashville on Thursday because initially they had Steele playing on the 4th line with Oscar Beck and Blackwell with Dodonov up, but they quickly switched. And, I don't know if it's whether Dodonov, I know he can play both wings, but used to playing on the right. Now over on the left side of this group, they wanted Maverick to get up, but I thought Steele looked really good in the game playing with Wyatt.
Yeah, he looked like a player who hasn't played in a little bit and who was anxious to get back out there, right? Even just missing, I think it was the one game after the collision with Brendan Smith. Steele looked really good, had a lot of jump, right? That's what they talk about with guys coming back in the lineup. And he's a good skater anyway. So, I mean, to see him fresh, really anxious to get back and playing on a 3rd line winger role also, that is a difference. When you play on the wing and you're used to playing on the center, you kind of are released a little bit more. Even in the Stars system where there's less of a distinction between the positions, you still do feel like you can push a little bit more and kind of press a little bit more. And it seemed like Steele, he had that freedom in his game, just the way he was skating.
Then looking at the other side, by the way, I had Steele down for 4 quality chances, which was tied for a team high with Hintz and Leon Bischel. So again, quality chances versus high dangers are not necessarily always the same thing, but it just shows that they're pretty active, involved in getting into those scoring areas, which is a good thing. And I agree with you. I thought Steele popped it a couple of times, which is what Pete likes to say if a guy sort of stands out a little bit. Then you look at the defense, and to me, Bischel started to show something in the game again, it was Nashville, but kind of what we saw in the first couple of games of his NHL debut.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt, right? I mean, I can't think of a time this year that Bischel has been healthy scratched when he's been available, really. And this is the type of player I think that Pete DeBoer and really the entire Stars team have been thinking about when they look at the playoffs, and they looked at this season at the start of the year. They wanted him to get that season in the AHL. They wanted him to be comfortable enough so that when he came up to the NHL, he didn't have too many big holes in his game that could get exploited. And I think we're getting to the point of the year where we're seeing he's confident, he's healthy after coming back from his concussion and everything. And when he's at his best, he can exploit open ice. He can make good 1-2 plays like he did with Rantanen the other night. And shoot. I mean, that slap shot he had, even though he scored later on the 5-hole shot, that slap shot to me was as encouraging as anything, because that shows him just walking right into one and absolutely putting, 95 miles an hour or something.
And then he got his own rebound and put another puck on net.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When he's feeling confident and you're that big and you can skate like he can, that's a dangerous player. And I think that's a player that I don't see him coming out of the lineup anytime soon.
So let's talk about Casey DeSmith for a minute, because he has a very, very good number this whole year, .922 save percentage. That's great. Since the Four Nations face-off, he has a .947. In his last 6 appearances, he's 5-0-1. And this part, Robert, I find really intriguing. Casey DeSmith played at the University of New Hampshire, UNH, the Wildcats of Hockey East, back in 2011 through 2014. He was not drafted. He then signed with the Penguins, and he went through all 3 levels. Wheeling Nailers of the ECHL, multiple years with Wilkes-Barre Scranton, that's their AHL affiliate, and then cracking the lineup with Pittsburgh, but went back and forth a bunch. He wasn't just up and staying, but then he was with the Penguins. So literally in the Penguins organization for the better part of a decade. Not quite 10 years, but almost. He has never played a game. Now, he's only been on 2 teams since, last year with Vancouver and this year with Dallas. He's never faced the Penguins as an opponent. He'll do that today. And Casey's numbers for his career, 134 appearances for Pittsburgh. And knowing that they're playing in Minnesota tomorrow, Sam and I were talking at the beginning of the pregame that this was kind of a no-brainer, but it still means something. And I think the coaching staff got this exactly right, having Casey start today against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's telling too, because it's the first half of a back-to-back, and this season in all their back-to-backs, there's only been one time aside from today where DeSmith started the first leg of back-to-back, and that was in that January game in Colorado that was kind of a disaster. Mateo Blumel had that goal that was called back when they had a little bit of life. It was just a bad game. So aside from that, DeSmith has always started the second game of back-to-back this year, and the Stars have been excellent in the second game of back-to-backs this year, winning most of them, and obviously we know about DeSmith's numbers. So this game means a lot for him, and it also shows, I think, how much confidence the Stars have in his game, that they're saying, okay, the first game when you traditionally have the better chance to win because you're fresher and everything like that, we don't think that DeSmith hurts those chances very much compared to Ottinger. And with the way he's playing right now, I mean, I think you have to agree he looks as good as any goalie in the league right now.
The first meeting between the Stars and Penguins was a 7-1 rout. They scored 6 times in the first period in Pittsburgh.
First period, yeah.
It was back in November. Mason Marchment had a 5-point game. Matt Duchene had a goal and 2 assists. I mean, it was ugly for Pittsburgh. Now, you look at the Penguins, they had a 4-game winning streak, but they didn't really help their standings. Now they're just 2 wins in their last 7, and on the road, they're 1-6-2 in their last 9 road games. This is a team that, for all intents and purposes, have been eliminated. Their tragic number is 3. That means the number of points they can drop and the number of points that Montreal can earn over their last 6 games is 3. It's not going to happen for the Penguins this year, is it?
No, and I mean, it hurts after last year when they had a chance to scrape in and get that last spot, and they kind of faltered at the end, and the Capitals, by default, kind of made it into that spot. And this year, those two teams have just diverged, right? The Capitals have, obviously, we know what they've done at the top of the league, and the Penguins have just struggled and struggled. They've had some bright spots. Hard Kell has been pretty good for him this year. Rucker McGroarty is a good rookie they just brought in. I think he just got his first NHL point the other night. So they've got some bright spots in the lineup, but the goaltending's been terrible for them. Jari got waived and sent down to the AHL at one point. Evgeny Malkin, he's looked like the oldest player on the team this year in all the worst ways. He's tried to change his game and be more responsible defensively. It hasn't helped. Chris Letang had a really rough game in their last one in their overtime loss. He lost his guy in overtime. He had another bad play and a different goal during the game. He's, when 2/3 of your core are, 37 years old or older, and two of those thirds are looking as bad as Malkin and Letang have looked recently, you're going to be in trouble. And to top it all off, they traded Marcus Pettersson, who's probably one of their more reliable defensemen, to Vancouver at the deadline. So they only made it harder on themselves.
And it didn't help Vancouver out either, did it? Ultimately.
Well, I don't know that anything could help Vancouver out this year. They've kind of been their own worst enemy in a lot of ways.
It's a great point. Malkin looks like he's going to play today. Here's the look at the lineup we expect. It's an ESPN ABC game today, so I think they're starting a couple minutes later, which is why we haven't seen line reporting from across the street. But there's Rucker McGroarty. How about that, Robert? The young kid gets to play with Sidney Crosby. I mean, he said, I think I saw the other day that he said all his buddies keep texting him that he's practicing and playing with, the living legend. And it's got to be surreal for both sides, both for McGroarty to play with a guy that he, idolized and was a hero for him, but also when Crosby's been in the league for a couple decades now and looks back and these kids are going, I had a poster of you, or I think some of them said they had his fat head, which dates everybody, on the wall. That's got to be bizarre as well as you get older.
It gives you a little bit of the Madonna skating with Jamie Benn in his rookie year vibes, right? Where you have this kid who's looked really, really good, and why not play him with your most creative guy? Evgeny Malkin has been a really good player for a long, long time. But there's no denying, I think, that right now Sidney Crosby is the guy you want to put a player with to get the most out of. And this also might, Rickard Rakell's game might translate a little bit better with Malkin on the second line. So maybe the thinking is for Pittsburgh, McGroarty will play well with Crosby, because anyone can play well with Crosby just about these days. And that gives him a little bit more depth. But again, if the Stars put up 6 in the first period, it probably won't matter too much. You
went on the trip to Seattle, which I'm jealous of because Seattle's a lovely city. I've been there a few times. It's really pretty. It's a fun place to be, especially when the sun pops out, which, depending on the time of year, doesn't happen very often. But what's your take on this team right now? To me, it's the most bizarre 7-game winning streak I've ever seen, and 10-game point streak, because I've never seen a team that's won and had gotten the results, the object of the game, so often, and the coach, the players, the media, the fans, everybody's disgruntled about one of the more successful teams in the NHL.
Yeah. It's not often I think they're like 8-0-2 in their last 10,
correct,
right? They don't have a regulation loss. They're in a 7-game heater, and they've been called out by their coach twice, once after a shootout loss and once after a regulation win. It's just unheard of. And, I see a lot of, we saw it even in the first period the other night, right? When they started slow and were getting outshot and all that sort of thing. And, it was sort of a here we go again vibe. But it turns out it was more of a here we go again, in the sense that the Stars just don't seem to care. Like, sure, yeah, whatever. We'll spot the other team 5-10 shots on goal. And, we got this. It's not a big deal. Someone mentioned to me the other day that it reminded them a little bit of the Chicago Bulls way back during their dynasty era with Michael Jordan and Pippen and Rodman and all those guys, where they could be, trailing by 8, 10, 12 points in the third quarter or whatever, and it just wouldn't matter because they had that gear that they could turn on. Now, of course, no coach is ever going to say that's ideal and it's okay, we're not going to take the game seriously. They'll all say full 60 minutes, treat every game with the same mentality, that sort of thing. But Matt Duchene said something interesting to me when I talked to him in Seattle a little bit about this, because they obviously, when your coach calls you out, you're gonna get asked those questions a lot. So it was a really good, honest conversation where Duchene was just like, look, here's the deal. Teams like Calgary, for instance, who they just played, are coming in and they have a different mentality than we do. We want to win. We're obviously trying and putting out effort and everything, but they're going to come in with a level of desperation and everything that's necessarily going to be different, because they're basically playing game 7 every night. And as much as we're going to bring our best and everything, that's not, we're all not dumb. Like, we know that's not what this game is. So it's this fine line to walk, right? No athlete's ever going to say we're coasting or we're not trying our hardest. They are absolutely trying their hardest. It's just sometimes other teams bring that gear from the drop, whereas the Stars lately have been able to hang in games a lot because of their goaltending or because of their power play or whatever. And they've been able to hang in games and then turn that gear on when they needed it, and it's been enough to win over and over and over. And that's not fun for fans, but it's reassuring to know they can do it. Yeah.
Like, we could do an hour on this topic. I have 10 things I want to ask you because we can talk hockey all the time. But let's finish with this. We're going to not even get into Jamie Benn not playing for 2 games, although he might play tomorrow in Minnesota. What could that do to their aging captain? We don't have time for it. But after this whole heater, 8-0-2, 7 in a row, they're still 4 points behind the Winnipeg Jets, who had a big win in Vegas the other night. Now, Winnipeg plays tonight in Utah. Utah is hanging on by a thread to a playoff hope. I don't think it's realistic at this point, kind of like Pittsburgh is in the East. But what's your feeling on whether the Stars could catch Winnipeg in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, it'll be games like this that they have to win. Games like tomorrow against Minnesota. They have an easier schedule, so it means winning the games you're supposed to win. And that's the thing. We talked about Pittsburgh last year, right? They lost some very winnable games. Longtime Stars fans remember that, winning your in game against Minnesota way back at the end of the 2011 season or whatever, where they couldn't get the job done. So the whole thing about being a Stanley Cup contender and being a really good team, 3rd in the NHL, is that you need to prove it when you have the biggest advantage, right? That's why those teams, maybe they win a lot of games in the power play, but you should, because you're way better if you have more skilled players. That's when that difference in quality should be most apparent. So games like this, yeah, they're probably not going to score 6 in the first period again, but they need to look like the better team for more than just one period. Game like tomorrow in Minnesota. Minnesota's obviously desperate. They're in a losing streak. The GM was going nuts. Bill Guerin was screaming at reporters yesterday. Check out that story. The Stars have to look like the better team. But if they do that, there's no reason they can't be in Dallas and welcome Winnipeg back and make that a really decisive game. And boy, wouldn't that change the vibes around the team if they win that game.
In my ideal scenario, the Stars find a way to catch Winnipeg and they get to host Minnesota in the first round. I think that would be a juicy storyline, don't you?
Oh man, playing Minnesota is always a heated matchup, right? For all the historical reasons and the recent reasons too. There have been some really acrimonious games and even the playoff series a couple of years ago. But boy, man, that would be something special. And that would actually be a reward, both for fans and for the team.
You got Suter, Kaprizov. Like, each side has gone after their better players and injured them. It would be heated, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the Stars will be the heavy favorites. Don't you think?
Yep. They should. Yeah. If that happens, they absolutely. I mean, really, right now, the Stars should be the favorites against anyone except the 2 teams that they're most likely to face in the first 2 rounds, which are Colorado and Winnipeg. Against anyone else,
3rd best record in the league, and this is what's happening. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, Robert, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for filling in at such last minute. It was wonderful to have you on again. We'll do it again, and I hope to see you back at the AAC maybe next week.
That's the hope. Yeah, that's the hope. I'm hobbling around right now, so I'll get that peg leg Ardell was talking about and get there next week.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it. And thank you for watching. We will be back. It'll be Lud's remote, Sam remote. I'll be here. John will be here. Unless chaos ensues and we have to call on Robert again, and maybe that'll happen after today's game, Stars and Penguins. Thank you very much for watching here on DLLS. Don't forget, it's ABC and, it's chaos. It's ABC, ESPN today. So that's how you watch. Come join us after the game.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
We all silly like the mayor.